There's a distance between us.
Terus ada tempat.
It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits. You can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
Kita sudah turun. Aduh, capeknya minta ampun.
We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong,
Sudah sampai.
and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. See you again.
yang jualan. Ada yang jualan. Ini orang Indonesia semua nih.
Come and fly away with me. 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 Come and fly away
Ini
with
orang jualan
me.
baju.
Come and fly away with me. Come and fly away with me. Come and fly away with me. Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I, jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die, so come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. We're rising, we're falling, we're making moves. We're climbing, we're soaring, 1,000 views.
Air dingin. Yang mana? Yang dingin. Yang mana? Satu.
Somewhere by the emerald sea, where the moon and water meet. Somewhere close to harmony, when the world is sound asleep. Something's gonna bring the